Hello and welcome to another Turing Mock interview series. My name is Jose and I'll be your host for today. Today I'll be talking with Hassan for the role of an experienced React Native developer. And the question that you might see today might be different if you come to Turing for a React Native interview, because these questions were selected for YouTube purpose. Okay, so let's get started. So hi, Hassan. First of all, how are you doing and how is your day doing so far?
Hi, Jose. I'm good. Thank you.
Cool. So could you please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your experience, okay, your professional background, and then I'll take from there.
Yeah, sure. So, Jose, I have 6 years of working experience as mobile application developer. So, I started my career from native iOS development using Swift. Then, after some time, I switched to React Native. And right now, I'm working on JavaScript stack. I have worked on React.js, React Native, and Node.js. I mean, I would say during my experience, I have worked on basic level application to the large application in which we have team of 200 people in working in enterprise company. So that's a brief introduction about me.
Nice. Very good. Could you please tell me something about your most exciting projects that you have developed using React Native?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I feel I have worked on many projects, but recently I worked on a project. It was kind of clone of Shopify. So on Shopify, anyone can create their store using templates, drag and drop, or these kind of things. So we can say it was 100% replica of Shopify in mobile application development, and it was completely built in React Native. We have many integrations, social media integrations, payment integrations. Like for example, if I want to post ad on Facebook, why I have to post my product again on Facebook? We can integrate. We give integration of Facebook page with the product, and you can do anything within application. So that was one of my exciting project, and I think
Nice.
right now that application have 1 million active users. Yeah.
Nice. Wow, that's huge. Nice. All right. So, um, okay, so let's get started with the interview. Okay, let's talk about React Native now.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, okay, what JavaScript engine does React Native uses?
React Native heavily rely on JavaScript core engine. So I mean, in iOS, it consumes power of Safari using JavaScript core engine.
Uh-huh.
Um, in normal scenario, in case of debugging, if we can debug React Native application. So in that, JavaScript code is completely handled by Chrome itself, and then, I mean, JavaScript code is communicated with native code using WebSockets.
Nice. That's nice. Okay. And I would like to hear from you, okay, according to your experience, let's say, what do you understand about higher order components or higher order functions?
Yeah, so higher order components can be used to, use compositional power of React.js or React Native. So basically, in this technique, we have a parent component, and we can we can say a child component in that, and a child component will adopt all the, I mean, properties of parent and can consume in its own way. So, I mean, we will wrap a component and get a completely new component. So that is higher order component.
Okay, and I have a follow-up question regarding this, okay? Actually, I have two. So the first one, what are the best practice to create higher order components?
I think I would say the things that we are going to implement in high order component is we should get a single responsibility. For example, let's say if I am going to make a login screen, I can maybe use higher order component in a way like the UI that I want to render for login screen is a child component, and the business logic where I will hit login API, that is in parent component, and I can say that is service layer. So I can wrap my UI layer in service layer and consume it.
Nice. And you just killed my next question would be an example of using hierarchy components. You just said the login page. Also, we can use hierarchy components with like routers, right? And one more point in addition to that, the best practice is you use the keyword or the word with, okay, to name your files. Because when you have so many files in a JavaScript ecosystem, if you find one which is with styles, with this, it is, and that, you will quickly know that that is a hierarchy component. Okay. Next questions. So I
Yeah.
would like to hear from you. Okay, what kind of libraries and modules we can use either in JavaScript or in React Native? Give you one example. Okay, TypeScript. Okay, we can use TypeScript in JavaScript, and also we can use TypeScript in React Native, right? Axios, we can use Axios in JavaScript, and we can use Axios in React Native. What more libraries we can use in both?
Okay, I got your question. So basically, if a component is completely built in pure JavaScript, and we don't have any native level implementation, in that case, I mean, I think that component is usable for both React.js and React Native, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
a component is using native code, so then that particular package can only be used for React Native. We cannot use it for React.js.
Okay, and if I have a component which says window or document, can I share this component or this function for both or no? Or can you only use that on JavaScript?
I think that is React.js specific document getting document because React.js uses DOM, but in React Native we have concept of views, so both are separate.
Okay, okay. Next question. What are the features of container and smart components?
Yeah. So basically, as name is very descriptive, so smart component is not only responsible for just rendering UI on the screen. I mean, smart component can have states. Smart component can, uh, uh, do some business logic. But in normal component, we can
Mhm.
say that is only purpose of that component is to render UI. That is, a component get from props.
Okay, got you. So what do you mean about interaction manager and why it's important?
So basically, uh, uh, as we know, React Native have mainly have one thread for UI rendering, right? So
Right.
whenever we perform some kind of animation or heavy stuff like we want to scroll something, so in that case, we don't want to, put a heavy load on single thread, and at the same time, we want to hit APIs. So in that case, we can use interaction manager, I think. Like we can say, okay, first perform this animation, then I will say to interaction manager, then hit this API. That will take some time. That is, processing heavy task. And then interaction manager can give us a callback for cleaning that particular task once we are done with heavy processing task.
Cool. All right. So my next question is regarding to containing presentational content. Okay. What are some benefits of use them?
So basically, I think uh, in this way we are dividing our you know coding or components uh, in a way so that we can get a proper UI. For example, in presentational components, we can say, okay, so let's say I want to render a button on UI. So I will try to make it generic one so that I
Mm-hmm.
can use the same component all over the application. And for example, if right now we were using a blue color button, right? But so we can use same component all over the application, but after some time, design team say change blue to red one or any other color. So we just have to, update color in single file and it will reflect to all over the application. And container only contains multiple components and, make a set of components that we need to render on screen.
Okay, all right, great. And so what do you understand about async storage? Okay, and how should it be used?
So basically, async storage is kind of app level storage, persistent storage. So even if you kill application, our data will be stored. So I mean, we can use temporary or small data in async storage, and we should not, prefer this for secure things like token or access token. So we should use encrypted storage for that. Basically, it is not encrypted.
Before I go to our next question, I would like to call upon our developers fellow here. So if you have 3+ years of experience and you are confident that with the skill sets you possess, okay, head on turing.com/jobs and apply for the job that's more suitable for your tech stack. Once you pass the vetting process and get matched, you will get a job as we did. Okay. If you find any value in this video, please consider giving us a big fat thumbs up. Okay, and comment down below what kind of videos you would like to see in the upcoming videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you are not subscribed already. And as that said, let's come back to the interview questions. My next question for you is related to a set native props. Okay, I would like you to explain what is set native props, and as well if creates any performance issue.
Yeah, so Jose, we know whenever we change state or update state, in that case, complete tree UI tree is re-rendered. So in case if we want to avoid that in some particular scenario, for example, let's say I have 30 components on my screen. So I'm exaggerating, but assume. So, and we want to perform an animation on that particular screen, right? So I don't want
Right.
to re-render all 30 components. I just want to perform that particular animation. So in that kind of scenario, we can directly use set native prop and our complete UI tree will not re-render. And secondly, it will, increase our performance in this case because we are not re-rendering complete UI.
Okay. In the beginning, we talked about debugging using Chrome, right? In your experience, what is the best way to debug React Native application?
Yeah, so I think it depends on developer's choice, but some developers use console log, so that is the simplest one. But we can use Chrome debugging tool. So I mean, we can debug particular files. We can do line by line debugging using Chrome debugger with React Native. And apart from that, if we want to debug application from performance perspective, in that case, we can use Xcode and Android Studio. Like, for example, if I want to debug how my app is consuming memory or how my processor is being consumed by app on different flows or different screen, in that case, I would say it's kind of profiling, but I can say, I mean, we can debug it. We can say it is debugging too. So we can use Xcode and Android Studio for that.
Okay, cool. And next question. So what are the best practices in terms of tests? How do you test a React Native application?
So Jose, I mean, during development, first step is kind of unit testing of that feature. So we just run feature and test if things are working. Then second step is kind of integration testing, right? If that particular feature is completely integrated with the existing flow, if we are integrating completely new flow. I think then maybe we can write test cases for business logic testing, even for UI testing, we can write test cases and test that particular feature.
Okay, and what tools are you familiar with for unit tests, for example?
Yeah, so I think React Native provide Jest, and in with Jest we can write unit test cases and even UI test cases. We can automate that.
We can automate testing in a React Native application using Jesse.
Yeah, I think we can.
Okay, that's good. Do you have this experience?
Yeah, actually, I have written some of unit test cases using Jest.
Okay, cool. That's cool. All right. So let's go for a scenario, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's suppose you have an app, okay, that is a series of lists of image like Instagram. So you can scroll down and see a lot of image, a lot of containers, okay? And the app seems to crash random, okay? Sometimes, from time to time, when you are scrolling, these apps just crash and then close, okay?
Okay.
What steps can we take to investigate that? From where should we start?
I think from first step is as application crashes after some time. So it seems it will consume memory and it is not it will not release memory maybe on the time when it should. And a
Mm-hmm.
second scenario would be maybe something is consuming processor and in that processor can be bottleneck or memory can be bottleneck and after that application is crashing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for this we can I think use profiler of Xcode and Android Studio. So for example, if let's say if we want to, just test this thing in iOS for now. So I will run this application using Xcode and I will, scroll all
Mm-hmm.
field one by one. So I mean, if during scrolling my memory is getting, up and up gradually and I mean it is not being released properly, it means that we are loading images, but once that image, particular image is offload, I mean not visible on screen, in that case we are not offloading the image, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it I think technically if someone is using a map, so that's a bad approach. In this case, we should use flat list because flat list only load those particular cells that are visible in screen. Okay, for example, if we have three feed cells that are visible in screen, so flat list will only load that particular three cells, and all other cells that are not visible will be offloaded from memory. So
Nice.
first step is we can go with flat list. Um, Maybe if we feel again that in with even with flat list application seems slow, it will not
Yes.
crash, I'm sure, because if we use flat list, it will not crash. But if we seem it is still slow, in that case we need to uh, get optimized version of images from server side so that image loading is really fast, and we can even implement image caching so that once image is loaded, then after that it should not take some time to load.
Cool. And where should we save this cache?
I mean, we can use third-party libraries. They can do all the stuff for us. Otherwise, we can do it on our own.
Okay, nice, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so last question for you, okay?
Mhm.
Last question, I promise. So what is the real case behind the performance issue in a React Native application?
Yeah. So, Jose, I think main issue is in JavaScript, we only rely on one thread for UI rendering, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
in case we are using a thread for UI rendering and we are doing heavy kind of processing, maybe for animations, and at the same time we are calculating height, width, or dimensions. So in that case, application will be slow, right? And
Yes.
there are multiple scenarios. Even if we are using fat arrow functions, so fat in on every re-render, fat arrow function again attach to that particular button or touchable opacity. So that's again a performance overhead, right? And instead of let's say I'm using inline functions for styling, right? So in inline, we know on every re-render, it will again, use a complete inline styling. But if I use style sheet in that, it will only define style sheet for the first time, object for the first time, then application will use reference of that
Mm-hmm.
particular style sheet. So I think there are multiple things that can make application performance low.
Okay. All right. Thanks for this answer. Okay, that was my last question.
Mhm.
I would like to thank you. That was really nice to speak with you today, and reinforce if you are a software engineer who has 3 years of experience, okay, and are confident with your tech stack, head on turing.com/jobs and apply for jobs. Okay, I'm pretty much sure if you dedicate to that, you get a job as we did. Okay. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up for this video. Give us a big fat thumbs up for this video. subscribe to our channel. If you have any comments, concerns, write down in the comment section below. As that said, that's a wrap. Thanks, Hassan. Thanks for attending this meeting today, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, take care.
Yep. Thank you.